I'm not one of those people who embrace the stupid idea, love yourself as you are, you're perfect just the way you are, and so on. Because if someone accepts something like that, they exclude themselves from any further improvement. You'd have to be in God's position. I'm perfect, so I don't need to improve anything. I love myself as I am.
I think that using it has now become something every day, which it shouldn't be. I mean, it should be reserved for athletes or people who work out, people who really want to go much further from an already very high level, and no one is actually at that very high level. Very few are, but everyone else is using it, let's say, which is quite discouraging, let's put it that way. But that's the reality we live in. Hold on.
Hold on here, I completely disagree. I would suggest that in the past, the audience for bodybuilding was broader and included families watching Schwarzenegger.
And that's a problem, and that's wrong, because it shows people that it's perfectly normal to sit here and have my abs popping out because I have no fat at all. It's possible, it's normal, but it's not the standard. It's not what an average person can have.
You become a slave to your body. I dare to say it now, I'll say it openly, it's disgusting.
Women approach men who have goals to see if they can distract them from those goals.
Now, look at a donkey that weighs 150 kilos trying to have sex. In 15 seconds, it's out of breath.
Welcome to the second episode of Antologos. In today's episode, our topic is related to bodybuilding. We'll talk about steroids, natural bodybuilding, enhanced bodybuilding, and generally we'll analyze various topics related to fitness. By the way, I would suggest you watch the first episode of Antologos so you can understand the concept of the project and you can also participate. Below, you'll find a participation form so you can be in the next episode and publicly support your opinion. Let's get to the video. Now let's meet our guests for today. Panagiotis, I would like you to say a few words about yourself for the people who might not know you. People in the field know you, just like Mr. Manolis, but there might be viewers who are not familiar with the field.
All right, so good evening. I'm Panagiotis Rafael, PNBA Pro Natural Bodybuilder. And today we will be participating in this very nice video and this very nice discussion with Kostas and Mr. Manolis.
So, Mr. Manolis, if you could.
Say good evening from me as well. I am Manolis Karamanlakis, IPB Pro, and it is my pleasure to participate in this very nice podcast that Kostas is doing.
Well, thank you. You are always ready, prepared. So today in this video, we will basically talk about natural and enhanced bodybuilding, about bodybuilding in general, and I have some topics that we will start to analyze to hear your opinions. So first I want us to talk about anabolic steroids, what the difference is between natural and enhanced. Do you think they are dangerous and shouldn't be normalized in fitness? Shouldn't become normalized in the fitness industry? Who wants to?
Please.
The use of PEDs in bodybuilding is not something new. It started back in the 1960s and has followed the entire tradition of competitive bodybuilding. Now, this is an objective reality. The highest level of bodybuilding also involves the use of performance-enhancing drugs. However, in terms of health, it is negative. If someone uses anabolic steroids, it should be a conscious decision and simply have to do with the goal they are trying to achieve. They have many side effects which include cardiomyopathies, dyslipidemia, liver problems, neurological problems, and others. Therefore, their use should be limited to competitive and, I would say, even professional bodybuilding. The side effects are real, they are serious, and long-term use has consequences. Therefore, if someone makes such a decision within the context of personal freedom and choice, they must do it consciously, knowing that it comes at a cost.
Panagiotis, do you have anything to say?
I agree with what Mr. Manolis said. Unfortunately, we agree. Certainly, because in the question, the way you phrased it, you mentioned whether anabolic steroids should be normalized in the fitness field, which is something bigger than the bodybuilding field. So in this case, under no circumstances should something like that happen. Of course, you can be strong, you can have an aesthetic body, you can have your health, which is the most important thing, without using substances. Of course, substance use might improve some things in the short term, but there can also be immediate side effects and, of course, some negative consequences. I believe it's a decision that many people make, as Mr. Manolis said, without being fully aware of their choice. They do it very casually, which is something that shouldn't happen, because it carries a lot of serious consequences and risks. I'll say more. Wait, do you think you'll get rid of me that easily? Definitely, especially when it comes to bodybuilding, and specifically professional bodybuilding at the IFBB Pro level, Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic, and so on. Over there, yeah, you probably can't go without using substances. You probably can't be 120 kilos shredded or 100 kilos shredded. Nevertheless, there is also the natural side of the sport, where the highest competitive level is still very impressive and highly competitive. But for sure, in terms of size, it can't be compared to Mr. Olympia and the IFBB, so it definitely shouldn't be normalized in fitness. And it's a choice that everyone should consciously make for themselves, but it's definitely not a decision that someone should rush to make. And without any indication that this path might actually do them any good, because it's very likely to be a one-way street and they might not be able to go back.
So I want us to talk now about the use of anabolic steroids again, whether it creates unrealistic body standards.
That's clear. The fact that some bodybuilders or fitness influencers go public using steroids and claim they're natural creates a serious problem. It creates unrealistic expectations. It creates disappointment. Many young people who see this situation want to look like their role models, and they don't realize that the bodies they see are also the result of drug enhancement. And it may also pose a public health risk if this situation becomes normalized in the broader fitness community. We need to emphasize that anabolic steroids are drugs that carry a serious degree of risk and are not for everyone. If the decision is not made at the right time by conscious individuals within the context of personal freedom and because they want to achieve a goal, I think it is a misguided use. And at the very least, everyone should be extremely well informed before they consider or start anything.
What was the question?
I had mentioned unrealistic standards, whether steroids create that.
Here, I will say that they do not create unrealistic standards. Because someone, not you specifically who is thinking about it, but someone who used them, may have ended up achieving that standard or that result you see, get excited by, and feel inspired to follow and pursue. So what exactly is realistic? Someone did it, so it can be done. It's realistic if you can do it yourself. If it will work the same way for you, that's a very different discussion, and the answer is probably no.
Supernatural, let's say.
Yeah, okay, but I agree with what Manolis said, that we shouldn't be so easily impressed by an image, especially when it's from either television or social media. Any situation where we don't see the whole picture. We see perhaps the best version, and we don't see all the negative and worse versions. Those simply never came to our attention. Only the best ones did. So does it create unrealistic standards? I wouldn't say so. And definitely the responsibility should also be on the observer to watch what they want and to use a bit of critical thinking. That yes, when I see the 22 or 21-year-old on the Mr. Olympia stage, I probably can't do that myself. It's possible because he did it and he's right in front of me, but maybe it's not possible for everyone. There has to be a distinction between what we're watching and what we might be able to do ourselves.
Can I?
Please.
But don't you see, Panagiotis, that content creators on the internet are also selling illusions, often presenting a very attractive image in order to sell the product they're selling? He is not honest about the use of performance-enhancing drugs, A young person seeing the body and the statement, the narrative that says, I achieved this result naturally with training, nutrition, consistency, discipline. He gets into the trap of following a similar path, only to realize along the way that it's not possible to reach that point. And then comes the disappointment, and possibly that's when the use begins. If that is someone who is, in quotes, immature and whose critical thinking skills are low, sees the image and takes it as an accurate narrative without knowing what's happening behind the image. He may resort to using steroids in order to achieve that image because he doesn't see any other way. There is, I believe, a very aggressive culture of selling illusions among content creators, both in Greece and abroad. And the problem isn't whether they use or don't use, the problem is honesty. I mean, I would say that someone who is enhanced and admits they're enhanced, that's no problem. Someone who is natural and is accused of being enhanced, that's a problem. Someone who is enhanced and claims to be natural, that's a very serious problem. So I think the main issue is the matter of transparency. If someone comes out and tells the truth about their experience saying, I use PEDs and this is the result, then a filter is created for the young, inexperienced person who will first of all look at the image. I think it also has to do with how responsibly someone creates content or not.
I absolutely agree with that. Of course, as you said, it's good for the young viewer to have that filter as well. That, yes, someone like that is actually telling me they're using, which I may not be willing to do myself, so I shouldn't have that expectation. At the same time, though, there are people who think that from where they are to the level of someone who uses substances and gets impressive results is a short distance. That the only difference between them is the use of substances, and they start using, and then they realize that it wasn't just that. Okay, obviously it has to do with the development of each person's character. Certainly, too much exposure to social media isn't good. It's definitely a big problem that everyone tries to show only the positives. Even a natural athlete who, as a model to promote his programs, chooses to stay at a very low body fat percentage because he takes better photos and better videos, which attract more attention and therefore more potential sales. But he presents it as if everything is perfect, while in reality he struggles every day with himself and his thoughts. And he has no motivation for anything except to make this video and promote his programs. But he says how great it is to be ripped, and that's a problem, and that's wrong. Because it shows others that it's completely normal to sit here and have my abs pop out just because I have no fat at all. It's possible, it's normal, but it's not the standard. It's not what an average person can have.
I think what you're describing is this: achieving a high-level physique. Whether someone is in the context of natural bodybuilding or in the context of enhanced bodybuilding, it has requirements, it has serious requirements, and it also has a high cost in both cases. In no case can we assume, or should young people not assume, what you said, that my difference from the standard is pharmaceutical stimulation, because it's the years of work, the commitment over the years, the consistency, the training, the nutrition, the discipline, and as you say, outwardly, and really all of us, we present our ideal image and not the moments of difficulty, despair, problems, and so on. Why? Because these platforms are made that way, like bait, so that someone comes in, is attracted by what they see, and then buys the product. So it definitely requires a lot of caution. It requires being informed, and I think the video we're making today contributes to that.
So, Mr. Manolis, since you mentioned that some people who use anabolic steroids should declare it publicly, do you agree with that?
I would say that they shouldn't hide it. So someone who uses steroids or various other substances should publicly say, you know what, What you see as a result also includes this part of the preparation. If he hides it, then it's a moral issue for him. And it's also a problem for that person. He might not properly evaluate what he sees and hears, and that could lead to a problem. Any young person who tends to see someone else as an idol, as a mentor, and wants to follow every step they take exactly, will definitely not succeed, will definitely be disappointed, and so will I. I think the chances increase, they multiply, that afterwards he might end up using because he gets desperate.
And you, Panagiotis, what do you say about those people?
I agree with what Manolis said. We all agree today. What can we do?
Then we also have the A's.
All right, I agree. If someone uses, they don't need to talk about it day and night and mention it, but they definitely shouldn't claim that they don't use and that they've succeeded. That's what he presents to us as natural. Because in the past it was a very common tactic, but now most people have started to be more honest, since people are no longer so easily influenced and just say, okay, him too. I think that now its use has become something much more everyday, which it shouldn't be. It should be reserved for athletes or people who work out. For those who really want to go far beyond an already very high level, and no one is actually at that very high level. Very few are, but everyone else is using it, let's say, which is quite discouraging, let's put it that way, but that's the reality we live in.
Panagiotis, can I ask you something? If someone is particularly skeptical and sees a body they admire without a clear statement of whether that person is using or not, in that case, how can they assess whether the person talking to them is using or not, so that I know if what I'm doing as a practice can realistically get me to that person's level or not?
That's a difficult question, because even if we follow someone and watch all the content they upload, there are many things in their life that they might not share. For example, someone might upload certain things. A full day of eating, like I eat these 4,000 calories or these 3,000 calories. Yes, but they might show us that and then throw it away, or they might eat that and then binge on other things afterward. So you can never be sure about what someone else is showing you, of course, over the years. And the more you watch, you might pick up on some character traits, so you can judge them more as a whole person based on what they say and do. And if those match up or are often the opposite, if they're often the opposite, that might reveal something. No one can be sure.
You know, I think that the burden of proof for someone who claims to be natural falls on them.
I agree.
I mean, especially if he has a big influence on the public and sees that his influence leads many young people to ask him questions. And the answers he gives are evasive. The burden of proof that he is what he claims to be falls on him. First of all, that's one thing. And secondly, I'm not in favor of the opinion or the tendency that some enhanced people have to brag every day about the use and administration of all the steroids they take. Because there is a part of the audience that wants to look through the keyhole and see what gets me the desired result. And if someone else pulls out a grocery list, let's say, I take this, 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 and that. An inexperienced person, whether young or older, might go down that path and say, I need a huge stack of steroids in order to reach that level. Even more so, yes, because there are some people who imply that you won't get results unless you use the things that I am talking about. I consider both approaches dangerous. The one approach of take these, this is the way, and the other approach as well. I have a large following, but I don't prove it at the same time. There is a way I don't prove at the same time that I am natural, so that someone can know that, A body like mine, yours or someone else's, can be achieved with discipline, time, diet, training, and all those things we know.
So, do you both believe that fake natties are a problem in fitness?
Yes.
Fake people and fake natties are a problem, but it's also a problem for someone to be accused. And someone who's natural, who has exceptional genetics, 1 in a million, let's say, achieves significant results, results that other people can't achieve. And to be unfairly accused of drug enhancement just because someone judges by appearance that the natural person they see isn't like themselves. I mean, if we want to be responsible, we have to actually do it in practice. There is a way for a natural to show it, and there is a way for an enhanced person to talk responsibly about their use.
So, I want us to talk now about whether you believe that steroids are necessary to reach the top of bodybuilding.
Should I answer? If the top of bodybuilding is Mr. Olympia, I believe so.
Okay, but is there also natural bodybuilding?
Yes, but nobody watches it. When did it happen last year? You don't know, but you know when Mr. Olympia happened and you know who won. It's, let's say, in different spheres, on different levels. I don't know. Obviously, both levels are almost equally unattainable. Nevertheless, those who don't follow bodybuilding and those who don't follow natural bodybuilding, if you mention bodybuilding to them, they might know about Mr. Olympia and nothing else. So, to reach that peak, which most people know about, I would say yes.
All right, Panagiotis, do you want to explain a bit why you don't take steroids?
Let me say, in general, I had.
Now, you said that you go to natural competitions, but nobody watches them.
My friends saw them, and whoever else came there. There were some people, but nothing in comparison to those who watched Mr. Olympia last year. At first, I got into the gym scene and weight training. I was involved in sports from a younger age, and at 20 I started lifting weights more systematically, and I just think I explored it relatively gradually. How to get stronger, how to build your muscles, how to lift weights. So I saw that I always had another level to reach. But there were other factors that I could manage better and improve. The ones that will lead me to better physical development and progress and all that. I don't want bodybuilding, especially at this point in my life. It's very important to me, and of course I work very hard to try to build something more. But I think it won't be the most important thing for the rest of my life. Training will always be there, as well as fitness and health, but bodybuilding is something smaller that is important right now. I believe that I already see the improvements in performance that I wanted, okay? And I'm satisfied with the pace of my progress.
So you don't want to go that far?
I'm taking it to the extreme, to the limits that exist now for my body, let's put it that way.
But would you use substances to reach that point?
No, let's say in my last fight I was 81.5 kilos, very ripped, looking good. I think even at 82.5 or 83.5, it would make a big difference if I could achieve that. I need to work on that for quite a few years. I don't want to see myself at 90.5 or at 100.5. No matter how much I might have weighed, and maybe even with use, I might never have gotten there, but the risk is always there. Yes, the result is not certain, but the risk is. Those are my reasons.
All right, now I want you, Mr. Manolis, to tell me why you started using PEDs. Why did you become enhanced?
First of all, because from the beginning I saw bodybuilding as a career, as a competitive process. Secondly, because I realized very early on that my genetics allow me to aim high. Secondly, at that time there was nothing on my horizon at a competitive level, non-enhanced. Therefore, since I wanted to be competitive and the only thing I saw was Mr. Olympia and the other professional competitions, I said, okay, this is the path. Nevertheless, there was a significant difference. The significant difference was what raised a question for me. If my genetics are right for what I want, when I realized with relative certainty that they are suitable, then I said, okay, I will go compete at the highest possible level gradually and step by step. I wasn't in a position to compete in an international competition from the first year, but that was on my horizon. The question I asked myself first was if I wanted it, if I could take responsibility for the choice, and if my genetics were suited to it. Therefore, since I checked all three, I went down this path.
So now let's get into some hotter topics where you might disagree. Yes, you might disagree. So I want us to talk about natural bodybuilding. The topic is whether it's the only honest form of bodybuilding.
Honest, fair. I'll start. I'll take the floor. I would say no, because you are honest when you do what you say and when you tell the truth. That's it. In the end, there are just different conditions in natural and different conditions in enhanced. So you do whatever you want, that's not it.
Okay, answering the same question, I would say that if enhanced bodybuilding creates a new aesthetic category of body, I can't see why it would be a less legitimate pursuit than natural bodybuilding. Enhanced bodybuilders compete against other enhanced bodybuilders, and they compete at a very high level, let's say on equal terms. So I don't think there's an issue, but I can say natural bodybuilding explores the limits of human biology. Enhanced bodybuilding explores the limits of human biology. When someone has another pillar of progress as well. Therefore, the level is different. Because when we talk about enhanced bodybuilding, we're talking about increased recovery ability, increased protein synthesis. We're talking about the ability to lift weights and train, to potentially lift heavier weights and train more frequently. Because I recover, it's a completely different biological context. So natural bodybuilding pushes human limits, drug-free limits. Enhanced bodybuilding does the same thing, creating a different aesthetic standard through drug use. Now, it would be less legitimate if an enhanced athlete ended up among the naturals and competes over there. Yes, that's cheating, and let's say there's no way to detect it with any test. Otherwise, when athletes compete on equal terms, I think everything is okay.
So, do you want to talk about whether you believe that natural bodybuilding is the future of fitness? If you see it that way?
The future of fitness, first of all, fitness is much bigger than bodybuilding, whether it's natural or enhanced, I mean fitness. It's about going cycling every weekend or going out for a run.
And I want to say something else too. For example, let's say if we watch old movies where we saw the bodybuilders, the old ones, we saw a big crowd below. You would see families, little kids, which I believe doesn't happen now. Families won't go to see the enhanced bodybuilders, let's say. So I believe it has changed for the audience. What do you have to say about that?
This is a big topic here, because it's not just the bodybuilding audience, it's the entertainment industry in general and even sports. Everything. Just as the world and the years change, these things change too. Let's say not the best example, but I'll use it. In the past, there was only the Champions League. Alright, and I believe that everyone who watches football was more excited for Tuesday or Wednesday when there would be the European match. Now that there are matches all week, We're less excited to watch football, there are more matches and they're worse matches. Alright, the same goes for anything else related to entertainment, with movies, with competitions, with everything, I mean all of that. That more means better is not true. They made it worse, I'll say.
What do you have to say?
Regarding what Panagiotis is saying, I will agree that quantity and quality almost never go together. Now, I don't remember the question.
Basically, what I said, since you also had the video I sent you, is that they mentioned that in the past you might see a whole family watching bodybuilders like Schwarzenegger and those guys, but now, what are they supposed to go see? A monster.
Wait. Ed, I completely disagree. You're implying that in the past, the bodybuilding audience was broader and included families watching Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger and that whole generation are part of enhanced bodybuilding. So if families were watching this, people were accepting an enhanced aesthetic standard, it wasn't something different.
But with lower levels though.
Yes, because
Like classic physique. Let's say
every sport progresses in terms of performance, so does bodybuilding. At some point, it would surpass the limits of Arnold and Dorian and Coleman. I hardly dare to say it. Well, it would surpass certain limits. Now, if it has become more hardcore in the eyes of some of the audience, I think that's irrelevant. In the sense that bodybuilding also opened up to more people because of social media. I don't think that enhanced or natural bodybuilding is gaining or losing audience. If anything, both are gaining audience. I don't think they're losing audience. More people are interested in their appearance, they're interested in a muscular body, and whether they choose option A or option B, it's still within the context of bodybuilding. It will be. The difference, it's a crucial, potentially significant difference whether I operate within the limits of human biology or I move within the framework of enhancing human biology. Anyway, I imagine there is a devoted audience for Formula One, there is a devoted audience for rally, and there is an audience, possibly a smaller devoted one, for karting. Motorsport is the whole framework. Those who love motorsport watch and choose where they think it's better to spend more time.
I think that was a nice topic we discussed. So, do you want to talk a bit about something unrelated and then get back to the subject? I want to talk about body positivity. So, it's basically a movement that started with people who were heavier, more overweight, and want to normalize it. Let's put it this way again, that being fat, to put it like that, is good.
The word fat, in the context of political correctness from which this movement originates, doesn't really fit to begin with. Now, the truth is that...
And it's good to love your body no matter how you are.
Or not to love it as you are and try to improve it in an effort to love and accept yourself. I'm not one of those people who embrace the stupid opinion of love yourself as you are, you're perfect as you are, and so on. Because if someone accepts something like that, they exclude themselves from any further improvement. You'd have to be in God's position. I'm perfect, so I don't need to improve anything. I love myself as I am, and so on. There's room for improvement for everyone. Now, being satisfied with one's physical condition is acceptable. Not getting into pointless competition when it's not your priority is also normal. That is, some people give their all in battles of the mind, not in battles of the body. And personally, I consider these battles, the mental battles, much more difficult than building up my arms and my chest and so on, and not to care about their body to the same degree that some other people do. All choices are respectable when they are conscious, when someone knows what they're doing. And on the other hand, if I belong to a category of people who like muscular bodies, I have no right to judge negatively other people who don't care about that.
What do you have to say, Panagiotis?
What can we say about body positivity?
Do you think it's gotten out of hand?
It's gotten out of hand, okay. Now, while Mr. Magnolis was talking, it occurred to me that it's just marketing. It's nice to feel okay with yourself, no matter how you are, whether you're thinner or whatever. Image isn't everything. Okay, maybe you gained weight, or maybe you were heavier since you were young, you were overweight. And maybe you reached 20 or 30 or 40 years old and decided to change just because you decided to. Or maybe until you were 40, you were a superstar athlete, and then you decided to let your body go and focus more on something else. Of course, you should have the freedom to do that. At the same time, there shouldn't be censorship or pressure, like for what reason? This company has 5 available positions, and 2 of them have to go to people who weigh 100 kilos or more. It doesn't work like that. Skill should always be what counts for each job. Also, someone might be selling leggings. They shouldn't be forced to sell size 7 XL or anything like that. They can sell up to extra large or whatever if you don't like those leggings. Or if your size isn't available, go to another company. You don't have to buy from this one, or that person doesn't have to work there. I mean, it's not just about body size, it's about everything. Censorship and the directive that this has to exist. No, what should exist is the improvement of ability, not uniformity. That's it, exactly that, and nothing else. I can't say it any better.
Now, I'm going to say some unrelated things. I want to see if we keep them. In general, I want you to tell me if you think that someone who takes steroids anyway is more of a man, cooler, more like a superhero, let's say. You who have used them, what's that like?
Look to see if he's more of a man. In his mind, maybe he is. On the other hand, he could see using performance-enhancing drugs as a sign that he's less of a man than he thinks. Because if someone, as I've said before, might need to put on armor in order to go out into the world, to have a good relationship with himself and others, to me that seems like weakness, not strength. So I wouldn't say that someone who takes drugs necessarily feels stronger.
So does he have some psychological problem, insecurity?
Yes, he could. I don't want to be categorical and say that everyone who goes through such a process may have a starting point that is rooted in trauma or a problem. But many do. This, again, I don't mean this in a negative way. Trying to achieve sublimation, if you have a complex, if you have a trauma, by following a path that leads you somewhere. First, to get to know yourself better, that's one thing. And second, to create the conditions so that you can go out into the world. As you imagine, it's a positive thing, but I can't equate pharmacological stimulation with a sign of strength or that someone is more or less of a man. Pharmaceutical stimulation should be done within the context of a goal, a purpose. Pharmaceutical stimulation should not be an end in itself. And also, I don't know if it can go on forever and what will happen when it stops. If, let's say, by taking it you feel like twice the man, when you stop you should feel like half a man.
What do you have to say, Panagiotis?
And I will agree again that use is not the deciding or defining factor. You're either a man or you're not.
But hormonally, are you?
Look, hormonally, your hormone levels go up a notch. On the other hand, if you know it firsthand, you can disrupt the body's hormonal homeostasis to such a degree that in the end, by using, you might be much, much worse off than if you hadn't used at all. because this is a process that requires knowledge, science, moderation, and so on. It doesn't mean that I took it and I'll become Superman or, I don't know, Tarzan. It's a double-edged sword. If someone acts responsibly, it's like giving a very fast car to someone with skill and good judgment. It can be the perfect car. For someone who has a reduced ability to realize that they can't handle so much horsepower, it can be something very dangerous. It could even cost them their life. Therefore, I can't give a definite answer. Of course, what you're saying, Kostas, is what's in the air. It's what people say. That I took medication and I felt something. These are crutches. It's an illusion that I'm something more than what I really am.
I want to say more on the subject. Sure, everyone has an idea about themselves, and it can be either objective or a bit higher than what they actually are. And at the same time, anyone can project an image that isn't really their true self. What someone really feels about themselves, saying I'm the best, and so on and so forth, while actually feeling bad and feeling low, feeling inferior, let's say. The most important thing for everyone is how you see yourself. You don't have to feel like a man to do certain traditionally masculine things. As long as you do them and test yourself and really see your abilities, from there you evolve and you can raise your self-respect or how you feel about yourself. And I think it's the first and biggest thing you can do, meaning to test your abilities or to learn skills and then test them. Because at first you might not have them, which will lead you to evolve and to feel more capable and more like a man. And you don't need to know everything right away and be the best. You can do things even without being the best and without feeling great.
Let me add some more things here. I think masculinity is what drives things forward and upward. That's an issue. Now, whether someone needs a very expensive car, watch, phone, and appearances, external things, in order to feel or show others that they're doing well is a matter. The question is why. Similarly, someone might think they need a cartoonish superhero body in order to be able to handle daily life and the interpersonal interactions they have. The point is, whether I choose to do something and present an image in one way, or do something else and still present an image in another way, I need to know why. What drives me to want to drive a very expensive car when in reality I don't need it for the routes I take? Why do I have to wear a watch that costs 50,000 euros when in reality a watch that costs a tenth of that would tell the same time? All of this exists within a broader social context and within a hierarchy that exists in society, which places a lot of importance on what you have and not on who you are. Why do we never say in these discussions that the point of comparison should be the one who has dug deep? When it comes to knowledge in a field, why shouldn't we care, for example, about the forefront of physics or philosophy or mathematics and show off through knowledge to the people and the community who can understand and accept these things? There are certain people, and most of them are superficial, who don't understand what it means to have read Dostoevsky, but they do understand what it means to drive a Lamborghini. So what is needed is to go through all these processes, including buying and driving the Lamborghini. To ask yourself, who am I and why? What drives me to get this car? And through that, why do I want people to see me?
But you, the body you had, which was extreme, was it purely professional for bodybuilding or was it only professional? But when you were 142 kilos, surely you felt a bit better too. I believe, compared to others. Like when someone has a Lamborghini and sees someone else with a Fiat, he definitely feels superior.
Look at what has actually happened, Costa. It has happened to stop at a traffic light with my scooter, being about 140 kilos of muscle, and someone else stops next to me with a convertible. Having invested, I don't know, 250 grand in the car, and his companion is looking at me. I imagine that the guy who invested in the car and realized this felt really bad. Now, jokes aside, let me say this. You feel good when you achieve something you've pursued. My goal was to be extremely muscular. When I was getting close to what I wanted, to what I had pursued, of course, I felt confident because I was achieving my goal. But beyond that, if I found myself in a circle of intellectuals, I would feel very uncomfortable. Because what would I say to them? Guys, hold on a second so I can flex my biceps a bit to show you that I have an advantage. Let me say something else. This body was holding me captive. You actually become, when you're in competitive bodybuilding, definitely enhanced, but I guess also natural. You become a slave to your body, and that's to some extent. I'm going to be bold here, I'll say it bluntly, it's disgusting, it's disgusting. When you're a piece of meat that has to eat 5, 6, 7 times a day, you have to train compulsively in this way. You can't do social activities, and you definitely become focused on just one thing. So at that time, I was telling myself to avoid the temptation to think that books exist too. Because if that thought gets into your mind, you'll see that what you're doing on a macro level, if you look at it from afar, might even be stupid. But it was a way to make a living. It was a situation that I had consciously chosen, and I followed it faithfully and with discipline for as long as it was useful to me. But I don't idolize it. I'm not saying that what I did was the absolute best. Maybe I might have envied someone who understands the beginning of the universe more, and it might seem like a silly activity. How many sets are productive? If 2 are more productive than 3 or 4 or 5, what rep range? What RIR? If you say all these things to people who aren't interested in the subject, they'll tell you, buddy, these things are irrelevant. Of course, in a small world where the body matters, I felt like a king there, but I also had the bigger picture in my mind.
Let's change the subject. Let's move on to an interesting topic. So, I want to hear if bodybuilding has improved the athlete's sex life. Of the other athletes and of us, the 2 athletes here. Do you think that's a fact? I mean, does bodybuilding improve your sex life?
Does it improve it or make it worse? In many cases,
Yes, the extreme definitely makes it worse. I noticed something else.
there are plenty of examples of people who have disrupted their axis, their HPTA, through pharmacological stimulation and without knowing how to manage these factors. And their sexual performance is in the gutter after a few years. Now, for me, sex is an act of confidence. So if someone boosts their confidence by taking drugs, they might be more sexually active, more assertive, and have a sense that they look better, so they're more attractive. So I make a move then. And he might interpret this as an improvement in his sexual performance and health. On the other hand, the opposite is also true. Shall we talk about things realistically for a moment? Can you imagine now a donkey, wait, no, I take that word back, it's about political correctness. Can you imagine now a donkey weighing 150 kilos trying to have sex? Let's say with a woman who weighs 50 kilos, in 15 seconds she's out of breath. I mean, we're really patting ourselves on the back. In the world of bodybuilding, Some guys with small dicks will say, you know, I took drugs, I became a man, I made it, they accept me, I had sex. Okay, fair enough. A satisfying sex life starts with a good relationship with your body and yourself. Now, if someone wants to optimize their performance and results in sex, there may be other ways, other paths. If someone thinks that this is the ultimate tool to have porn star performance, they should look into how porn stars actually work, and they should also know that short-term pleasure may have a medium to long-term negative effect.
Did it personally help you get more girls?
I had two kinds of reactions towards me. One was attraction and the other was the opposite. That is, a significant large group of women felt attracted to the body, while another significant smaller group possibly felt repulsion to see a body that in the eyes of the average person, the average woman, appears ideal. It may attract her or it may discourage her, because it might highlight the insecurity she may feel about her own imperfect body. So this can work both ways. In any case, I definitely don't want to give the impression that the solution for ultimate sex appeal is to just take medication indiscriminately.
And let me ask him one more question. Mr. Manolis, when you were 142 kilos or when someone is that overweight, doesn't that reduce the number of women who will approach you, let's say, or that you will approach?
Yes, I think they will.
Like you.
As you get older?
I guess so. Maybe your stock goes up. In a certain group of women, whom I would call muscle lovers, they exist. There are quite a few of them, fortunately, and maybe it reduces the influence you have on the rest of the female population.
Yes, because we also saw a lot of bodybuilders whose wives were into bodybuilding.
You know what happens in couples in general, many times similarity plays a role. I mean, if they do the same or similar things, they can understand each other a little better and function a little better together. Not always, in quite a few cases. So, yes, if the target is that group of women, then okay, it helped me, it gave me a bonus. If it concerns the general group of women, I don't know.
Panayotis, what about you?
What was the question?
Did it help you, let's say, with your sex life?
Bodybuilding in general, okay, I guess actually. I don't even have to guess. Surely the body I might have now after a decade and more in the gym might be more attractive than the body I had when I was 20 years old, just starting out, when I just had an athletic body without any special muscle development. Nevertheless, that's just one step. More people find your body slightly more attractive. And there are quite a few steps to, let's say, do better in your sexual life. I don't even know what that means, the way the question is phrased. Or to approach and attract.
Did you pick up more girls?
Let's say, compared to when I was 20, yes. If now I have, let's say, not now, if until now I've had 2 or more, yes, from 20 until now. Anyway, bodybuilding, making my body look better, okay, probably helped. Nevertheless, there are many other factors involved in having a better sex life. And of course, it depends on what you want for yourself and what you personally consider a better sex life. It has a broad meaning. Now, bodybuilding, I can say that it has many stages where it will actually make your sex life worse. Especially when you are preparing for a competition and after you finish the competition or your competitive season. During that time, and for a few months, for quite a few weeks, Your libido and your ability and your desire to even to flirt or to talk, not just to a stranger, but even to your own girlfriend, they decrease. And that's where problems can arise. She might think you don't want her or something like that. That makes you feel like, why is this happening since I want her, I love her, why can't I? You feel a kind of humiliation, which can very easily lead you to make wrong moves and end up disappointed. And after you finish your preparation, well, you made it, you competed, you showed the best you had, you were lucky too, you got a spot, let's put it that way. After that's over, even though you gave everything to get there, then you feel even worse, then you don't even have a goal anymore. Well, you had the goal to get on stage, to compete, and to actually achieve it, that was probably it. All your energy went there, it was the only thing you thought about and the only thing you could do. And you got there with no energy left. Then you have no goal, you have no energy, and you really feel lost. So, talking about your sex life, thinking about it, or trying to do something is quite difficult. And you can really get confused, get disappointed, feel lost.
Gentlemen, let's put this issue into a broader context.
I mean, sorry to interrupt. Even if someone else wants you, if you don't even want to talk to her, your sex life probably hasn't improved.
Let's try to put it into a broader context. I think that women are attracted to power as it is expressed. I mean, at younger ages, it's a sign of strength. It's a robust, strong, healthy body with abs and arms. That shows it's a sign of reproductive capability. You'll be attractive. Another way in which men compete in order to have greater influence over the opposite sex, I'll say for now, is the economic sphere. Most people who engage in financial competition don't do it to cover their basic needs. They do it to prove their value. Another area that also demonstrates power is social influence. Many people enter the public sphere, into public discourse, in order to gain visibility and influence and to become more likable. So, in general, it's the signs of power that can make a woman attracted to a man. Another way is speech, another way is music. There are many ways in which a man can become attractive to a woman. And the same goes for the opposite. It has to do with age, it has to do with temperament, it has to do with many factors. We can't say that the holy grail of acceptance from the opposite sex is, I have big arms, so I'm the best choice you have in front of you, the real catch. For a portion of the audience of women, this might sound appealing. For some women, this might be attractive. For another group, it might even be repulsive.
And you shouldn't decide whether you want to lift weights and get stronger based on the audience. You should decide based on what you think about yourself.
Also, Panagiotis, let me say this because you implied it earlier and I completely agree. When someone is goal-oriented, let's say to win a competition, to compete in an international, very competitive event and win it, the majority, if not all, of his energy and effort will go toward that goal. He won't have much energy left for romantic pursuits. He may be too tired to perform in bed. And that's where the framework of understanding begins. The same could happen to someone who aims very high in business. If a man is committed to his goal 24 hours a day, then the odds are he won't be the ideal lover. The ideal lover. In my mind, it's the idle loafer who is rested, does nothing, and has that as his goal. If he wants to have sex, he's available, he's rested, he's relaxed, he doesn't have stress from other factors, and girls choose him. Of course, you'll be hungry, but he'll be able to respond at any time because he has nothing better to do.
But what you said, girls don't want someone who has a goal, who wants to succeed. They just want that.
Costas, what you're pointing out now is absolutely right. Women are attracted to men who have a clear goal ahead of them, whether that's about sports, the financial sector, public speaking, anything. Women are attracted, I believe, though I'm not an expert, I believe they're attracted to people with goals, and if those goals are shared, even more so.
And I'm not an expert on women either. I may look like one, but I have a comment on what you said. That was funny, the disclaimer. First of all, because we now live in 2026, women are attracted to men who have goals, with the aim of seeing if they can distract them from those goals.
That's amazing, because it's true.
That in order for me to be able to do it, he shouldn't want this, he should want something else more. That not you, my love, my dear, my love.
So, let's change the subject. I want to move to a really nice topic where we'll also talk about health, about bodybuilding. If you believe that there is no excessive muscularity, about this, what do you have to say?
I want better formulated questions.
Is there a point where, let's say, you think it's too much muscle mass?
Definitely.
What is that point?
The muscularity of the champions competing in Mr. Olympia is excessive. That's what I pay as a spectator to see something that is far beyond the average, and the speed in Formula One is excessive for everyday road use. But that's what we want to see as a spectacle.
Why do I want us to say this? Because we will see bodybuilders at this extreme level who can't climb the stairs, who might sleep with a CPAP, and also can't do everyday things. Like even tying their shoes, their shoelaces.
In general, this is true, and it doesn't apply only to bodybuilding. It also applies to other sports that require the athlete to have a lot of muscle mass, like strongman or powerlifting, or possibly some categories in weightlifting.
Do you think there is a point that is good for you?
Now, we are Greeks and we have, let's say, Aristotle, so there's a sense of measure. Moderation is the sweet spot.
For everyone it's different. For you now, let's say.
Anything that tends toward deficiency or excess is negative. But in the context of competitive professional bodybuilding, we will pay to see excess. It's a spectacle, it's entertainment.
The audience celebrates extreme physiques.
Even if they don't like it, they will pay to see it.
Yes, yes.
What do you have to say about that?
There is, and for everyone it's different. Someone might say, I don't want to be over 85 kilos, over 95 kilos, over 100 kilos. And for a natural bodybuilder too, anything can become excessive.
Yes, does a natural bodybuilder have a point that's excessive, meaning you shouldn't reach that point? I don't think so.
I think what I would consider excessive on myself, I don't think I can achieve it.
So in natural bodybuilding, some people can't achieve that excessive look.
I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily agree with what you're saying, in the sense that some top natural bodybuilders, genetic freaks, might look excessive in the eyes of the public. I can't rule that out. In general, there are scales in everything. There is, for example, the person who climbs Everest after taking a helicopter up to the 3rd station and goes with the help of guides, ropes, and so on, or with the help of oxygen. There is the one who does it without assistance, who climbs from start to finish on his own. There are levels. Now, what each person wants, what they consider excessive, or what they find appealing, is a bit personal. But in any field, if someone dedicates themselves and reaches a level of performance that is far beyond what most people can do, well, it's probably in the realm of excess.
Shall I tell you what I meant? When you weighed 142 kilos, did you feel you'd gone to an extreme? Did you want to gain even more weight? How did you see it yourself?
Of course, I saw myself as extreme, that I was superhuman. That's what the category I was competing in required.
But did you want to gain even more weight?
Of course, I wanted to. I had entered a competitive process where the goal was to beat other people who had the same goal as me. In this competition, I would do whatever it took in order to be the winner. Let's say now, Costas, since you bring it up, can we go and tell Elon Musk, man, stop. You have way too much money. You can't spend it in this life or in 32 other lives. And all your relatives and a whole city. It's too much money you have. Stop. Put the brakes on.
That's the point. It's not about the money, let's say, or the body.
There are some people who are driven by excellence, by superiority, by achieving things that for most people are beyond measure. What should we say? Should we tell Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, you have way too much money? Go relax, go to an island and just spend it, I guess?
Yes, that. Of course, there is a point where it becomes too much, and some people are trying to reach that point.
So, I have another topic to see if we can come up with something else. I've written here that natural athletes have no chance against enhanced ones. What do you have to say about that? Because surely some naturals can compete with some enhanced athletes, I believe, because genetics also play a role.
As far as, again, the highest level is concerned, probably the best natural won't be able to win Mr. Olympia. They might sit next to each other. One will be 90 or 100 kilos and the other will be 130 kilos. That's 30 kilos of muscle mass. That's a lot. 1.5 kilos of muscle mass is a lot. In 3 years, from 2021 to 2024, I had a 1 kilo difference on stage. And the big change I had is obvious. The quite significant change I had. Let alone having a 30 kilo difference, not just one. Even if you're perfect, that's 30 kilos more muscle mass. We're seeing something different. They definitely can't be compared, but a really good, an extremely good natural athlete with very good genetics and many years of hard work. Many enhanced athletes, a lot of them who became enhanced before they even learned how to lift weights, or even while they were still learning to lift weights. Maybe they're not so blessed genetically, but he can clearly look better.
And let's say, we can say that you have a better physique than some people who use.
And even better than an 18-year-old who got confused and, let's say, used PEDs. Or even better than some more advanced trainees who just don't do a very good job. Yes, that. Even if they have more muscle mass, I might still have a better body.
I believe that even people who have the same experience as Panagiotis is physically ahead of them, let's say.
Okay, first of all, we don't need to compare ourselves, man. Everyone does what they want and what they like. And a big aside here about what we were saying earlier about confidence and influence. And anyway, we've reached a point, maybe this is more obvious now with social media, where everyone tries to compare themselves to others. Of course, there's always comparison, and of course, there's always your market value, let's say, but we don't need to live only for that. I mean, someone compares their chest to a Lamborghini and to someone else's watch. That's not necessary. One person wanted to work to get the car, the other wanted to lift. Want to build your chest? If you with the Lamborghini want a bigger chest, then lift weights too. There's no need to say, yeah, but I have a car, or yeah, but I worked for 10 years and built my chest. Good for you, that's what you did, okay? But we don't need to compare everything. Yes, some really good naturals will be better than some very average enhanced guys.
I also want to add to that, I agree, and I want to emphasize it. There are natural athletes who simply have better genetics. And on top of that, with systematic work, persistence, and discipline, they have built bodies that are better than enhanced athletes. Not enhanced champions from PED Olympia, but enhanced athletes who think that enhancement is just a shortcut to get to the top. I'm certain about that. Genetics play a huge role. There are people who have higher testosterone than others, who have better muscle insertions, who recover faster. Therefore, comparing things that are not alike is wrong because it can confuse us. Someone who does enhancement as an amateur and doesn't take care of all the other factors might see Panagiotis or someone like Panagiotis and say, "No way, he's taking drugs." Why? Because when the fox can't reach the grapes, it says they're sour. That's for sure, though Panagiotis, I think, will agree that whether you're natural or enhanced, there is no easy road. You are obligated to train hard, you are obligated to eat consistently and on a schedule, you are obligated to rest whenever you can. You are obligated to commit a significant amount of time in order to achieve meaningful results. Therefore, you choose the framework, whether it will be natural or enhanced. However, the work remains hard work, and the long-term commitment remains in both cases. What I want to take off the table, which usually comes up, and we'll see it in the comments, is the moral issue. That is, many people think that doing enhanced bodybuilding is like cheating. It's like cheating. If you go, let's say, to a natural competition and say you came here and you're natural, then you're cheating. That's a moral wrongdoing. If the goal in the competitions you go to are with other enhanced athletes as well, I don't think there's an issue. Also, there's the issue of health that always comes up. In the context of individual freedom, can we put it that way? Yes, in the context of individual freedom. I choose what my goal is, and I also choose the risk I take in pursuing that goal. So I don't know if Panagiotis agrees either. I don't think there's a moral issue anywhere. It's a matter of personal decision, choice, and taking responsibility that follows the choice. And everyone follows their own path and journey, and in the end, they are judged by the results they bring within the framework they chose. In other words, an enhanced bodybuilder can't be in a group of natural athletes and say, "I've got you beat," because you don't, since you're not competing on equal terms. You're on a different level of biology. Exactly. Wait a second. The two branches of bodybuilding have their own ethics. Natural bodybuilding is about the ethics of naturalness, and enhanced bodybuilding is about the ethics of surpassing limits. That will sound nice.
So, do you think the drug burns out its users? Does it burn them out? Does it make them burnt out? Psychologically or neurologically? It's an issue that, yes.
Some people, yes, because there is a normal limit to pharmaceutical stress tolerance, and many exceed it.
Most people don't misuse it, right?
Most people do abuse it, but the negative effects are also time dependent. If someone is at an abuse level, everyone is abusing it for 2 years, and someone else is at an abuse level for 40 years. The first person will suffer different consequences, and the second person will suffer different consequences, definitely. PED abuse in some cases can even burn out brain neurons.
I suppose so. I don't know, but yes.
I have a few questions. Name the topic, and I have a few questions for Panagiotis.
So, I see that on the internet, especially abroad, most of the people who sell and make money are the ones using drugs. If we look at social media, most of them use drugs. And this influences the kids. Everything has to be used so they can succeed, make money, become, let's say, the new role models. What do you have to say about that? Because a natural body isn't as impressive, it won't make a splash.
I'm not completely sure about what you're saying, but I'll say this. If a young person is thinking that the investment they should make is in performance-enhancing drugs in order to succeed in life, I would say good luck to them.
Yes?
What I would say is that there are many coaches who are also athletes who have very high, let's say, incomes. They have done very well. Now, comparatively, are they more or fewer than the enhanced ones? I don't know. But at the same time, I know that many enhanced ones try and don't succeed. Because now everyone has more than just a very good body, so other factors come into play. How truly high quality a service can you offer? How can you present yourself? Because someone might be very good looking and so on, and do the exercises, but can't speak, can't express themselves, can't guide, they can only demonstrate. And they will attract fewer people than someone who explains things the way people want to hear and understand them. So it's definitely not a one-way street. Of course, we also see people in fitness succeeding even without having the body. So that should be an indication that you can definitely succeed 100% without using anything. Plus, it's a factor and an expense that you have to consider. It costs and so on.
When you asked this question, Kostas, did you have someone like Sibum in mind?
No, others that I see abroad who...
Because a person's financial success when they're involved in anything, but let's say specifically in sports, also depends on other factors. For example, this particular person...
We're talking more about influencers.
Okay, yes.
Even in Greece, I can see some people who sell more.
They sell more. Those who aren't ashamed to sell nonsense. In my opinion, those people sell the most. Those who are good at luring people in and catch a lot of suckers with their false narrative. Those are the ones who really make money. Those who have a pseudoscientific veneer. Those who make unrealistic promises. Those who promise rapid changes in a short time. Those who hide the commitment required. Those who hide the fact that luck and circumstances also play a role. Back when I was competing, this wasn't possible with social media. Anyway, there are many factors that play a role. Anyway, the biggest financial success is achieved by the tricksters. Because the truth is harsh and it hurts. Now, if, let's say, someone with poor genetics comes to me or goes to Panagiotis or to someone else and says, I want to go on the Olympia stage, then, based on my experience and assessment that this is impossible, I have to honestly tell him in advance that, look, your body may progress to a very good point, but what you have in mind is not going to happen in any way. Why? Because the most important factor in everything is missing, which is genetic predisposition. This bitter, harsh truth is hidden in our sport, whether it's natural or enhanced. Many, because if they brought it out, they would lose at least half of their clientele. And because activity and content creation on the internet is not a charitable act, it's an act that aims for profit. There's marketing behind this. We didn't mention things like whether someone is natural or enhanced. They take photos of themselves with 174 filters. There's no more misleading marketing than this. Photoshop, for example, yes.
And even if it's not Photoshop, my best photo compared to my normal self, there's an incredible difference. Yes, I mean, okay, I didn't use Photoshop, I just uploaded my best photo. My normal self, the way I walk down the street, doesn't look like that.
Do you have an issue with people who take steroids? Specifically? No, I mean with a certain group of people?
He doesn't.
Do you judge some people who take them?
I don't judge them for using or not using them. In the past, maybe I did, but not anymore. Now I judge them by their character.
So, not because someone takes them. For example, someone might go to the beach and that's why they take steroids. Do you judge them for that? Would you say their character is a bit weaker?
I don't think I would go that far unless I get to know him and see how he acts, then I could judge his character. Otherwise, if I just see someone using steroids, let's say, with a really good body at the beach, I don't think I would judge him. I might just look at him and like his body say, look, his arm is like this or his abs and so on. I wouldn't judge that unless I get to know him and see signs that, oh, that's why he's like that, then I would judge him.
I might rate it negatively. I mean, someone who takes drugs, and there are many, and now is the right time. I don't know when the video will come out anyway. Now begins the season when there will be incredible sales and a lot of people will feel psychological pressure. Summer's coming up and I have to look a certain way at the beach, so I'll take various things in order to be, as I believe, decent, to be at the beach the way I want. I evaluate him negatively for the simple reason that it's a very high cost for very little benefit. And in reality, it's something like a bodybuilder is someone who is committed for the long haul, and it shows on his body. Whether it's pre-competition or during bulking season, you can tell he's serious about it. Now, as Panagiotis said, if you see someone, most of them are also a bit clueless. They just do a bit of chest and a bit of arms because those are the parts that show. So if you see someone with this look and you hear him say that this is the goal, well, I can't evaluate him positively.
And I've heard that some people even take diuretics and stuff like that.
Here, they get out of the car and do push-ups. They carry dumbbells to pump up their muscles. What do you think about that, Panagiotis?
Would you see that as a positive thing in someone?
No, I wouldn't. That's not really what I mean.
To that extent.
To show off. We all show off, man.
Pay the price, motherfucker, my brother, if you want something, if I want an expensive car, the proper way is to work smart, productively, and buy it. If, let's say, I rent an expensive car for a day, giving all my income for that car, and I go to my friends and say, guys, look what I bought. Well, am I...
Yes, but you lied that you bought it while you actually rented it.
If you love bodybuilding, you do it all year round, and the results come gradually as you have experienced. If, in May or March, you suddenly get really into bodybuilding,
you just don't love it that much. Exactly, yes, all right.
I think it's a similar analogy.
I agree, of course. We don't need to compare our love for bodybuilding. We can all love it to whatever degree we want. That's fine. So...
Are you going to ask Panagiotis questions now? Did you prepare one for Mr. Manolis?
I don't have one. It's okay.
All right, Panagiotis, how do I explain that the level of natural bodybuilders far surpasses the physiques of champions in natural competitions from previous decades?
Are we talking about before the 50s, 40s, and earlier?
Throughout natural bodybuilding history.
Basically, even now, let's say it's 2026, even in 2015 or 2005, I think there's a gap between the top natural bodybuilder now and the top natural bodybuilder back then. I think it's simply because the sport or the activity of bodybuilding is spreading more. And the more people see that they can stand out or just get involved with it and have a career simply with greater participation, people with higher abilities or higher potential started to take part. And that's why we see them more often, let's say, on stage. Plus, a very big factor is that the way we train is also evolving. Of course, we might already know everything or everything we need, but we find small improvements, a bit smarter training. I think that many amateurs live like professionals because they simply found this as a way of life, and some people actually like it. And that's why we've ended up having much better results among the top athletes.
That completely answers it for me. Does this have a ceiling?
It definitely has a ceiling, everyone. Because yes, at first we have the genetic ceiling, and even if we don't reach it, we still have a ceiling. On how close we can get to it, that depends on how we live our lives. Because someone might say 3 years and enjoy it for 3 years, but they don't have to say it or make it a commitment, and without liking it. He might do it for that reason if he's crazy enough, but someone else might actually like it. And indeed, for 3 years, for 8 years, for 15 years, I lived like that. Afterwards, it's very likely that he wants more time for other things. Immediately, as soon as your time and energy leave that, well, you let it go. Some margins, which of course are extremely minimal, but they're below the ultimate and the absolute ceiling. But definitely here anyone can become really impressive, especially someone who has the potential, has the genetics to go that high.
What evidence could convince a skeptic that an athlete is natural?
I don't know. Definitely, for a skeptic to be convinced, the evidence would have to be something personal to them. They would need to have a very good understanding of the human body and natural bodybuilding in general. For example, someone experienced in natural bodybuilding could be convinced more easily. Even if I'm on the fence, like I'm thinking, is this person natural or not? If I know enough and I've seen a lot of physiques, it's easier for me to be convinced and say, yes, you are.
If, for example, you see a fellow athlete of yours in natural bodybuilding, obviously not a beginner, from 1 year to the next, improving his muscle mass on stage by 5, 6, 7 kilos, does that make you suspicious?
Yes, especially in 1 year. Yes, clearly. And even in 2 years. And in 3 years it would make me suspicious. Especially if I compete and get on stage, I won't be able to see him at that moment because I'll be focused on what I'm doing. Nevertheless, if I see someone who in 2026 is like this and in 2027 or 2028 is twice as big, I will start to wonder. Even though he's already at a high level, of course, and especially at a high level, you improve even more because beginners still don't do everything correctly to see that kind of improvement. And indeed, 1 extra kilo of muscle mass, when you have very little muscle mass, it shows, but when you have a lot of muscle mass, it shows even more. Of course, gaining 5 kilos, for example, would make me think about it. Then, I don't know how much his skin changed, how much his character changed.
I don't think any of this has to do with changes in his skin or with his character, but I agree with what you said. I mean, if you competed with a fellow athlete for, say, 1 year, you were first, he was fourth, and the next year he beats you having put on 5 kilos of muscle. Yes, then I think a question mark arises. In that case, in the case that this happens, I imagine it has happened a few times. In that case, where does the burden of proof fall and how is it implemented?
If we're talking about competitions, okay, especially for the winners, some kind of test is done. Nevertheless, we know that a test at that moment for 25 substances or whatever just means that you don't have those 25 substances in you at that time. You might have had them 6 months ago, you might have had them 2 years ago, and you could have made progress and taken steps that you wouldn't have been able to make otherwise. Which can never be 100% accurate, it also requires a bit of goodwill. Of course, when you go, you invest time, years, money, both to eat and to travel and to show up there. And for all that, you would want to compete with someone like you and lose to someone similar and better than you. Over there, okay? I consider it much more about the contestant himself, who was a former user and is a current user and is hiding it. I think you must feel really bad about yourself to decide that you'll go there to stand out or to distinguish yourself.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know people who have done that. And there were people in the 2021 competition, Greeks, a Greek who had done it. We didn't compete against each other, but he was there in another category. Anyway, it was unnecessary. He shouldn't have done that.
About what you're saying, I have experience too. I've seen Greek athletes who are enhanced, taking part in natural competitions. That's why I'm saying, where does the burden of proof fall when you enter such a process to compete in a natural competition? Even in the competition organized by the Pan-Hellenic Federation, which is under Neocon, the burden of proof always falls on the athlete. That's why the responsible organization is there, the one that does anti-doping control, and in other cases or in other organizations as well, because I'm not sure what applies in natural competitions. If someone makes such a significant difference from one year to another by adding a lot of mass or greatly improving their conditioning, then I think that the person should be asked in some objective way to prove that they haven't used anything, if such use exists. The way I see it is this: do a hormone test, possibly a biochemical test, and a complete blood count, and present it publicly. So that if it is found that the HPTA, the axis, is disrupted, that athlete should be considered enhanced.
Now, I don't know too much about hormonal issues, but just a brief comment. First, regarding conditioning, obviously, if someone goes from 10% 1 year to 7% in 1 or 2 years, the conditioning will be different. Even with the same muscle mass, they can look much leaner. Obviously, he will be just as small if he hasn't made significant muscle gains. So just with conditioning, we can't say that you weren't lean before. Yes, because you had more fat that you didn't lose. You came in like that. You decided not to be like that. Obviously, you didn't do well. Now you probably did better. You dieted more. You lost more weight. You're also lighter. If you're 10 kilos heavier and leaner, then that's really something.
That's the crucial part.
That's a given. From that point on, of course, any inspection, all inspections should be carried out. Whatever more we can check, we should check it. For someone about whom there are doubts, of course, someone will always be able to get away from this, either on their own or with the right arrangements, everywhere, unfortunately. But I believe that natural bodybuilding is still at a fairly small level, where someone doesn't have much to gain to risk so much to go and cheat. But surely, as it grows, there might be more incentive to cheat.
I wouldn't bet my life on it, that it can't be done, because earlier in the discussion, Kostas mentioned that in someone's mind, as he put it, natural bodybuilding might be the future. So someone who wants to make a career in the future, metaphorically speaking, I'm saying he could think about microdosing or using substances that wouldn't be detectable in his system after a certain period of time, so that he can make this career and become a legend or legendary in this field, because that's what he's aiming for, since he sees that maybe that's where the most money is.
It's a very bad goal, for a person to think like that. Of course, people have done worse things, but it's very low, a very low level of thinking, of aesthetics, I don't know how to put it, to decide on something like that.
I like the word aesthetics.
Yes, for someone to decide on that and to plan it like that and to pursue it, to put their energy into saying, this is what I'm going to do and I'm planning it this way and so on and so forth, it seems like a lot to me. I don't have a negative enough word to describe it.
Look, here at the Olympics, where there's supposed to be an Olympic ideal, there's also WADA, who often participates, and the athletes compete not only with their name, but also with their national emblem. And again, we see that all sorts of things happen. Therefore, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't swear to it, that everyone is sincere in their intentions when taking part in competitions. And it's also human nature many times to want to take shortcuts.
So, I want to ask you now. I wrote down some questions while you were talking. So, I want you to tell me if you believe that there is a truly natural competition. Because we noticed that some naturals, in the competition, you might see even better bodies than enhanced athletes. In other competitions, that is.
Look, Costa, I don't have the experience to testify to that, in the sense that I have seen 3-4 competitions in total over the years in natural bodybuilding, and I don't have a complete picture to be able to answer that. Therefore, whatever I say, I don't know.
Also, we don't know if it's lifetime. Couldn't they have used them 5 years ago, as you said?
There's also another aspect. What do you consider, let's say, natural? Natural means I don't use, if I understand correctly, Panagiotis. I don't use PEDs.
None of all these substances that are...
On the WADA list.
Yes, whatever you take over there, you never use anything in your life.
But if what you're saying is true, if I use all the technology that's available and all the scientific knowledge that's available, there are many technological methods to optimize recovery, the same thing that PEDs do. At that point, am I natural? Am I still natural?
Are we talking about substances or about...
We're talking about cryotherapies, we're talking about infrared, we're talking about compression boots, we're talking about all the methods that science provides us in order to optimize recovery, and they're already being used in modern sports, elite sports, and many disciplines. Also, to what extent, let's say, do I accept or not accept enhancement? And on the other hand, do I accept or not accept surgery if my biceps brachii gets detached? It's a surgical, scientific, technological procedure, and so on. So for me, the boundary is a bit blurry at its extremes.
Yes, I think that, okay, if you cut, let's say, your chest or your biceps, reattaching it, it's okay. You don't consider it unnatural. Even though you used a technical artificial method. Procedure, sorry. Unless you put in silicone, yes. But if you go under your biceps and add more, I don't know, like a pad to make it stick out more, obviously you're enhanced. Obviously that's something else. Now, all the techniques that don't involve interfering with hormones or anything else that greatly improves your recovery or anything, I think it's okay.
Where the limits of what's natural lie is a bit hard to distinguish because fortunately, I would say, science and technology give us ways and methods of recovery that weren't available in the past. On the same level and even more powerful are PEDs. However, I will mention some examples of recovery technology such as cryotherapy, whole body cryotherapy, and sequential pneumatic compression on the legs. So the first one is about reducing inflammation, reducing DOMS, and faster recovery after intense training. The second one is about promoting lymphatic circulation, improving venous return, and removing metabolic byproducts. There's red light near-infrared therapy, which improves mitochondrial function, increases ATP, accelerates tissue healing, and EMS, which is electrical muscle stimulation. Percussion therapy involves mechanical vibration devices which provide mechanical muscle relaxation, reduce muscle stiffness, and improve mobility. Float tanks with a saturated solution of magnesium sulfate help relax the nervous system, reduce stress, and improve sleep quality. Cold water immersion, submerging in cold water, limits inflammation, reduces muscle pain, and allows for a faster return to training. Blood flow restriction recovery uses cuffs to partially restrict blood flow, applied in low-intensity training, post-injury rehabilitation, and muscle activation without significant mechanical load. And what do I mean by that? In general, athletic performance, especially in elite sports, keeps reaching new heights. And technology and science allow us to achieve that. PEDs are part of this context, perhaps in an even more powerful way. In any case, athletes' performances are categorized as either enhanced or natural. In the coming years, as other methods are invented, they will be improved and further developed. I'm speculating a lot, and that's the whole argument.
I agree, this whole list
Didn't exist 20 years ago or 50 years ago.
yes, or maybe someone did them on their own, thought of them, and now they've just been commercialized properly. That's why we hear about them and know them. As you said, I think without the perhaps, definitely stronger. None of these things will build even half a gram of muscle mass for you.
I disagree here because by increasing recovery and making recovery faster, chances are you can train more often or with a higher training volume. If they weren't effective as recovery methods, they wouldn't be used so widely. And technology and science wouldn't invest so much in them. And let's say NBA teams wouldn't embrace all of them either. So they help you, I don't know if they help you with muscle recovery in as quick a time as taking Dianabol does.
We're kind of both agreeing and disagreeing. Finally, after 2 hours of disagreeing, that somehow they might help, somehow they might help. It's not a strong argument. Why wouldn't they help?
Don't you use those?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask. Have you used these methods during your preparation or any of them? Not universally.
I've done some.
Like PRP or anything like that?
No, at some point I took a cold water bath, but okay. I've done meditation too. I don't know if that came up. In there, I used to sit every morning, let's say when I woke up, before I started, for 15 or 20 minutes or for half an hour, trying to think about how well the day will go and how much I can do even without energy. Maybe they helped. I can't measure it because I didn't do it without that. Or I didn't feel anything, like one day I didn't do it and I wasn't well, or one day I did it and everything went perfectly. I think that if these have any effect, it's so small that they don't set you apart from someone who hasn't done any of these things. Even if you have more recovery, it's likely that your ability to build muscle mass doesn't change that much or doesn't change at all. Compared to someone who doesn't do all these things, and it definitely doesn't change to the same extent as it would for someone who uses substances.
So, you're saying that if in the next competition you participate in, one or some of your fellow athletes, your opponents, systematically use all these methods, the technological scientific methods, while you do not, do they have some kind of advantage over you or not? Of course, both of you are consistent with your training and nutrition. Yes, yes.
I think that even if they do, it will be so small that the comparison will remain fair, the competition will be fair, and it won't be the decisive factor that determines, let's say, the outcome. A small example. In 2021, I was regularly getting massages, which isn't included here, but it's similar to massage. And someone might say that indeed massage helps with recovery, blood circulates better, various knots are released, you train better, and you have higher performance. In 2021, I was regularly getting weekly massages for most of my training, and in 2024 as well. I only did it twice when I was injured and had the opportunity because I was in Ptolemaida, where I know someone who could give me a massage twice. That was the spot where I got injured, and for many months before that race, I didn't get any other kind of massage. Both times, I believe I achieved the best result I could at that particular moment. Obviously, there was a 3-year gap between them, so logically, the next one in 24 was somewhat better than the one in 21. The massage didn't decide it. I don't know if it would have helped, but I doubt it.
So you're saying that if an NBA player, let's say someone we're familiar with, if Antetokounmpo is excluded from the team's program that includes these treatments for everyone except him, wouldn't he object on contractual grounds? I mean, I don't know what you'd do. You'd say, for example, since these don't offer anything, let all the other teammates do them. I'll be excluded and I'll still be better.
He should say that himself, or say that he doesn't want to do them.
Not for any particular reason. Since these contribute or help a little, as you say, I believe they contribute significantly, especially if they're done over a long period of time. So, if someone tells Antetokounmpo, the whole rest of the team, all your teammates, will be receiving these treatments systematically throughout the season, but you won't. Will he call his lawyer the next moment to say that he wants to challenge his contract for this reason?
Probably yes. What you're saying is that there's a percentage that will help you.
You know what happens with these methods? A lot is invested, and the fitness industry is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, someone who is natural or even enhanced might say, I want IV therapies, like the Myers protocol, which is an intravenous infusion of antioxidant vitamins and so on. To have better recovery, I want all of these things too. So I'm saying that these things have something to contribute and they're not insignificant. And it will become even more significant in the future. You're still there. Surely now, if someone with talent accepts these, someone without talent accepts those with talent this.
Yes, that won't be the difference. Maybe in the future, they will contribute even more and be even more useful. I think that for now, they are not advanced enough yet to unlock your potential. The next level, of course, when it is available to everyone. Maybe you fall behind if you don't do it. Maybe you're leaving something on the table if you don't do it. Yes, but it's still not decisive enough in improving performance to make as much of a difference as you suggest.
Look, since you come from football, as far as I've heard, you know that football teams do altitude training during their preseason preparation. Those who, let's say,
If we take, sorry to interrupt, I remember Manchester when they won, I think, the Champions League with Ronaldo, the first time he played for Manchester, when they had their training camp somewhere in South Africa. I don't want to say something that's not even on this continent and make us look foolish. But I think they had done that kind of preparation. That's why they won all 6 trophies that year. Continue.
I'm saying that obviously there's something to gain from training in hypoxic conditions, especially for someone who does a mixed sport or an endurance sport. It obviously forces the body to produce more red blood cells, hemoglobin, and so on, which means that if he completes his preparation this way, his aerobic capacity will be greater. Therefore, I would say that there are many other things that might be considered enhancement beyond just PEDs.
Maybe in some way they are enhancements. Maybe they are natural enhancements for now, even though they might come from artificial sources. Let's say you use red light, as you mentioned, this red light, you didn't go outside.
And I remove the plasma from the blood, the body produces it, I add it back, I have increased my hemoglobin, my hematocrit to a borderline level, which is an advantage if I do a marathon or road cycling. It can't be detected, it's a non-natural way to remove it. The body will compensate by producing more, I add it back again, increased.
It's considered unnatural. That's a nice topic. New things keep coming up.
Ways that they want. It needs a little time.
Look, this now, guys, has to do with the following. The issue of doping and detecting doping is a matter of cops and robbers. All right, someone might say, what are you banning? The WADA list is right next to it. What's not on the WADA list? And they're always researching, and they always find this, let's say, the issue that happened with it. I mean, WADA detects known substances in the first sample. Therefore, this substance, which had been rejected for commercial pharmaceutical use, was used by some people. They were conducting the anti-doping test. They saw, the ratio of testosterone to epitestosterone was altered, but they couldn't identify the substance. What is it? Is it Anavar? Is it Winstrol? Is it this? Is it that? Is it something else? Therefore, the athlete would get away with it because they would say to him, okay, you're enhanced, fine, but what are you taking?
Yes.
I don't know anything. Let's say now, I don't know if you follow boxing. Ryan Garcia, 2 fights ago, used Ostarine. They found it because it's on the list. It will always be there. I think that's also the story of Balco. I mean, Victor Conte started like that with Balco, finding substances to enhance track and field athletes, first of all in America. Substances that can't be detected and that matter. Yes, it's like cops and robbers. And also, there's a philosophical, ethical issue, which is this. Let's say someone wants to take up swimming. A child from a poor African country, I don't know, that doesn't have the facilities, but this child is amazing. Talent. If they are not given the opportunities and conditions to do the sport, they won't be able to compete with an American who has access to such facilities everywhere. Personal example, my daughter is very good at ice skating. Okay, if she were in Canada, she would have it in every neighborhood. She likes it, she's good, but there is no infrastructure. If, let's say, I try and, I go to Athens where there are facilities and so on, and I do it with this thing, won't she eventually be at a disadvantage compared to a kid who has this available right outside their yard just because it's there?
So, we're going to wrap up now. I want you to say one last message to the people so we can close the video. Just a message, anything.
Happy New Year, Happy Easter.
So don't take drugs. You raise the market prices and it becomes harder for everyone. Avoid performance-enhancing drugs at all costs so that those who really need it can have access at reasonable prices. I'm joking. Choosing performance-enhancing drugs is potentially a life-changing decision, and anyone who makes it should know that the price is very, very high. In some, and I would say quite a few cases,
I agree. It really is a choice that can end up being a one-way street. You risk a lot, maybe knowing very little, so don't make this choice lightly, especially when you're younger. And definitely, when it comes to bodybuilding, first see if you actually like this lifestyle and if you're really improving through the gym. It's about whether this is what you enjoy doing in your daily life. It's not just about lifting weights for 2 or 3 hours, it's also about how we live all the other hours of the day. Anyone can achieve a pretty impressive body, depending on how they define that. Maybe my bar for that is low, but so be it. A body with a bit less body fat, some strength, and some muscle development without using substances. That do these, do those. Don't compare what you like with what someone else likes. Do something of your own. Think for yourself about this. And also,
listen to your favorite influencer critically. Who tells you that this or that peptide or steroid is the answer to everything? Often remember that when you hear big promises, take them with a grain of salt. The influencer who says that this or that will give you everything you dream of may have some kind of self-interest.
Well, thank you very much. It was a very nice discussion. You didn't disagree much, but at least we got some messages across. I think they'll interest both the general public and those not directly involved. I believe from this field. Did you generally like it?
I like the discussion, yes.
Bodybuilding above all.
So, all right.
Everyone will like it. Everyone should do bodybuilding so you don't feel...
That's it. Thank you all for staying until the end. Let's close the video. Goodbye.